Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on this edition of The Inside. I am Babilola Jonathan. Opposition politicians, civil society leaders, right defenders, observers have been decrying and condemning what they consider as failure of leaders of many African countries at all levels to live up to their responsibilities, and they have been saying that the decisions, measures and actions undertaken by those leaders have yielded little or no fruits on the lives of people, particularly citizens at the grassroots. And now we want to look at how to raise a generation of productive leaders providing sustainable solutions to the many socio-economic, political and even security problems affecting Cameroon and the rest of the African continent. We'll also take a look at the Southwest Peace and Development Forum organized by the Southwest Regional Assembly in view of discussing the way out of the socio-political and security tensions that have been prevailing in the northwest and southwest regions of the country for more than 6 years today. How to restore peace, how to consolidate peace, how to foster development. We'll take a look at that in this edition of The Inside. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Today is Musoke Lucas Lyonga. He is a civil society leader, peace advocate, community empowerment and transformation promoter. He calls himself a modern nation builder. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm happy once more to be at Equinoxe. I'm very happy to be here to talk positive issues that are going to lead our nation and continent out of the poverty, unemployment, and the frustration state. So I'm very happy to be here at Equinoxe for this program. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Right, before we begin talking about how to raise a generation of productive leaders providing sustainable solutions to the so many socio-economic, political and security problems affecting Cameroon and the rest of the African continent, let's talk about the Southwest Peace and Development Forum. 2 days. Within 2 days, sons and daughters of the Southwest region came together in the regional capital, Buea, to discuss or chart the way out of the stable security situation of the region and the other region, that is the other Anglophone region in the same situation, the Northwest region. But here the focus is on the Southwest region. What's your take on this meeting?
Yes, I think the theme of the meeting is positive. It makes sense, but what is more important is what will come out with the resolution and the resolutions or the proposals being implemented. You know, in Cameroon we have so many meetings, we have so many conferences, so many seminars, so many good proposals, but at the end nothing is implemented and everything ends on paper. The idea is to look at peace and to look at how the Southwest could be developed in the current socio-economic and political situation, especially the ongoing conflict, how the Southwest could use its potential to be able to manage the situation on the ground, and how even in the midst of this situation, how development could go ahead. That is the focus of the whole issue. But you know, the truth is, you should always do the first things first. When you wish to do things the other way around, it will never work. The first thing which the Southwest should have been looking for now, given the reality on the ground, they would have been looking for justice, because peace is not a problem. Peace comes when justice is established. When a people are not happy, when a people are in conflict, you take them out of the conflict through justice. What are they crying for? What is their problem? What has caused them to be in the state in which they are? Peace has never been a problem, and peace will never be a problem where things are done correctly. So the problem is the fact that things are not properly done. Things have not been properly done for so many years today. And the people has risen up that no, we cannot continue in this situation like this. So you should look at their problem. Don't look at peace. Because peace will come when a problem has been solved. You cannot be talking about peace when you have not resolved a problem. Because problems are resolved to bring peace. But you cannot jump from it. So I would have loved that they should talk about implementing justice to end the ongoing conflict. Developmental issues will come thereafter. You cannot be talking about development in a state of war and conflict. No, you should talk about development after that. That's why they talk about reconstruction. It comes after conflict or war has come to an end. You cannot be talking about development and talking about peace in the midst of a conflict, in the midst of a serious conflict which has not yet come to an end.
But some Cameroonians, especially those who are close to government or those who are in government, see this idea of justice before peace as a hindrance to the peace process, because some will take the example of an individual who saw his father, his mother, his brother, his sister being killed, their home burnt down by some individuals, and then justice will require that some restitution be made, some adjustments, some compensation be made, and things put right, and then we can start talking about peace. But how can we have that? When you look at that kind of scenario, justice seems to be a hindrance to peace there, according to those who are in government or those who are close to government.
Yes, you know, the government itself is the major problem to what is going on. The government itself is a major problem because of bad governance, corruption, and all these that have led to chronic unemployment, chronic poverty, chronic frustration, and so on. So it is the same government that is the cause of the problem that is going on. So for this problem to be resolved, you check what actually is the cause of this. The cause is foundational injustice. Foundational injustice is the cause of what is going on today, because people have not been treated justly. People have not been treated properly. The systems, the institutions are not functioning under the true sense of justice, the true sense of fairness, the true sense of meritocracy. And there is a lot of bad governance and bad faith in the way that the government is carrying on activities. And this is the root cause of what is going on. A bad foundation, a bad governance system in place, a system that is not considerate. And when you look at what is going on, it has led to chronic corruption that has robbed the state of resources that would have been used to solve the ongoing economic hardship in Cameroon. So this is the truth about it. You cannot jump from the reality. You want to skew the foundation, and you want to jump into something which is just a consequences of what you need to do.
So in your opinion, those who have committed atrocities, for example, those who have done one thing or the other, committed crimes within the context of that crisis, should be arrested, for example, punished according to the law, and restitution made, and then we can start talking about peace.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that the people who have committed crime or whatsoever should be arrested first. No, you don't even do that first. The first thing is, what is the cause? What is the root cause?
The justice,
the ongoing Anglophone crisis. It is injustice. And when I talk about injustice here, I'm not looking so much about the law, but I'm looking about the way people have been treated, the way people have been handled. People have been mishandled in this nation in many ways. People have been maltreated. The systems is very unfair to many Cameroonians. A few persons have monopolized and hijacked the government and hijacked the functionality of the system. The masses have been left in a state of frustration. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that they need to correct this error. And how do you correct it? Check. The war is going on for all this while. We have been talking about calling a dialogue. A dialogue is bringing the people that are not happy, bringing the people that are on the other side of life. Sit down with the people. Ask, if you are still doubting their problems, ask them what is truly your problem, and they will speak openly. They have been speaking in other media outlets, but let it be now a forum whereby the people that are aggrieved should sit down with the government and let them talk the reality of what is going on. We cannot continue to pretend in Cameroon. When there is a problem, let that problem be solved. This way of trying to pretend and holding small side meetings which are of no effect, which are of no use, will not solve the ongoing Cameroonian problem. The ongoing Anglophone crisis cannot be solved by these small meetings. Let's not pretend and try to cover up a big problem that needs governmental intervention.
In reaction to the killing of journalists and so in the Northwest Regional Capital, the Senior Associate for African Regional Director of the National Democratic Institute, Dr. Christopher Fomoyo, insisted on the fact that guns cannot solve this problem. The solution is, what are you talking about now? Negotiated settlement. Peaceful negotiated settlement. That is the two parties coming together to be able to negotiate, to agree on some points that have generated what we are seeing today. Now, when you look at the issue of those taking part in the Southwest Peace and Development Forum, do you think there's going to be a concrete outcome that will meet the aspirations of the people? Because earlier you said that those or government is the cause of the problem, and that is exactly how many are seeing those who are in government or those who are close to government as the cause of the problem. And in majority, these are the people attending or who attended the Boya Peace and Development Forum, the Southwest Peace and Development Forum. When you look at that, can we expect some concrete solutions to the problem that will meet the aspirations of the people?
No, it's not going to meet any aspirations of the people. It's a government meeting, and it's just government officials who are talking among themselves on issues which are trivial. To me, those are trivial issues. Presentation of papers. 6 papers have been presented talking about trivial issues that have been there for long, for all this while. But we are talking about a nation that is undergoing a serious conflict, which is already a serious war, that thousands upon thousands of lives have been lost. And we are talking about a side meeting to bring peace? No. I think that we had hopes when we saw a meeting going on in Canada. I wish to be very sincere here, where the government was involved and the separatists that are fighting were also involved, because these are the two parties. The Southwest, ongoing Southwest Peace and the rest, the separatists are not involved. You are holding a meeting with those who don't have a problem among themselves, and you are discussing what?
The Southwest Regional Assembly President said that ex-combatants, ex-fighters were going to be invited to the
No,
meeting.
but the problem is not ex-combatants. The problem is the separatist movements, the separatist forces that are fighting and talking about the problem of the Southern Cameroons. So this is a national problem. It is not a small corner issue that a few people will go and gather and talk. No, this is a national problem where the President of the Republic, the Prime Minister, and top government officials are supposed to be involved. Like what we were already seeing coming up in Canada. And many people were already thinking that there is hope. But at the end, or whatsoever, it was aborted. So any other corner side meeting is just a waste of time. Let's be very, very realistic here. It may lead to just a small talk by the corner, but it doesn't lead to anything serious with respect to resolving the ongoing Anglophone conflict or crisis.
I talked to Dr. Ita Iwane who is a political scientist or a lecturer, professor of political science at the Karlsruhe International University in Germany, about the Southwest Peace and Development Forum, and he raised a point about the possibility of such a meeting further polarizing or further dividing the Anglophone community in favor of what is qualified as government's divide and rule strategy. What do you think about this?
I don't even believe in the Southwest Peace and the Southwest Peace Forum which is going on, because it is the Northwest and Southwest. It is the Southern Cameroons that has a problem. So if there's going to be a meeting, let there be a meeting of Southern Cameroonians. Let them talk peace in Southern Cameroons. You cannot have a section.
Former Southern Cameroons.
Yes, former Southern Cameroons. You cannot have a people, the Northwest and Southwesterners, who have a problem, who have a war going on. Then a few set of people polarize themselves to hold a Southwest meeting. No, you are polarizing a problem. This is a serious problem that is going on in the Northwest and Southwest. I would have loved to hear about an all-Anglophone conference to look into what has been going on and bringing up serious proposals on how this issue should be seriously tackled once and for all. It should be an all-Anglophone meeting.
Christian Cardinal Toomey tried to organize this meeting, but it never took place, and there were issues of hesitation on the side of the government to give the green light for such a meeting to take place. And now, regarding the fact that the Southwest Peace and Development Forum came up under the auspices authority of the Prime Minister and Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph John Gute, who himself is a son of the Southwest, and the meeting took place. The impression that some are having is that government is in its divide and rule strategy. Do you think so?
The divide and rule strategy has never worked, and it will never work. It will rather cause more problem. That is the reason why the Northwest and Southwest are supposed to work together, because there is a conflict, an ongoing war that concerns the Northwest and Southwest, and these are a people of English-speaking expression, and they are the ones that are facing what is going on today. So it should be a combined meeting that concerns the Northwest and Southwest. This issue of dividing the Northwest and Southwest, and so people are talking that they are having a Northwest or a Southwest meeting, then tomorrow they will also have a no. That's not how you run a nation. You run a nation by looking at the problem, a chronic and serious problem that is at hand. The people that are involved in that problem, which is the Northwest and Southwest, they should sit together at least once, because they have not, since this crisis, since the problem started, they have actually not sat together in a meeting that makes sense. A meeting like the All-Anglophone Conference. We needed to see an All-Anglophone Conference holding either in Boya or in Bamenda, so that they should talk about the ongoing conflict, the ongoing crisis, the ongoing war. What should the Northwest and Southwest individuals on the ground do with respect to the separatist fighters that are at home and abroad? How can they come together and talk so that the government now will come in, and as I always say, and as many people always say, a third-party mediation comes in so that it brings in confidence and trust, because the people don't trust the government again. That is why anything that is orchestrated by the government without a third party, nobody takes it serious again. And I think that it's high time for government to be honest and truthful to the population. The population already understands how the government functions, and you cannot continue to deceive people all the time. It is high time the Northwest and Southwest elites and citizens sit down and talk about this problem and get their brothers and sisters, the separatist fighters and the rest, involved. This will now bring some hope. Even if the meeting is not holding in Cameroon, it can hold elsewhere. It must not necessarily hold here, because if it's holding here, we are rest assured that the separatist fighters, the separatist leaders will likely not be confident to come. So why not have an all-Anglophone conference holding somewhere out of Cameroon, whereby the separatists will be involved and other officials of the Southwest and Northwest will be involved, and let them talk face to face and bring up proposals that will make sense. Then now the government can come in with the third party. I still make that point again. The government can now come in and they look into it. So it's either the government wants to solve this problem or the government does not want to solve the problem. Let's not be going left and right, holding small meetings and calling it peace and development meeting in the crisis, in the midst of a war zone. I think let's be serious and treasure the life of Cameroonians, at least once and for all. Right. Make Cameroonians to feel that they are valued. Thank you.
All right. I want us to go to the newsstands right now, and we are going to take a look at what the newspapers reported this week. Here is the press review compiled by Immaculate Fogwe.
The Median reports on the killing of a journalist, Anyende So, in Church Street, Bamenda. The paper cites Capo Daniel, deputy commander and spokesperson of the Separatist Defense Forces, who evokes that it was a mistaken identity while regretting the incident. Municipal Update reports that the shooting of journalists causes journalists of the Northwest region to rise up and demand for justice. Meanwhile, the Guardian Post says the government is accusing separatist fighters of killing journalist Anya So. The paper further says journalism associations condemn the killing while calling for immediate investigations. The Voice Weekender is concerned about the struggle for press freedom like political parties. The paper says the proliferation of journalism associations is playing into hands of government. Another edition of Municipal Updates exclaims, Southwest Peace and Development Forum took place on May 12. The forum took place under the patronage of the Prime Minister Chief Joseph John Gote. The Sun cites His Majesty Nasako Fitzgerald, who talks on the achievements of the Oldian Conference 1 year after. To him, the conference instilled confidence and a peace-building mechanism. The Eagle's Eye examines topics like growing unemployment, alarming insecurity, acute water shortage, increasing tribalism, and never-ending financial scandals, which needs to be addressed at the National Assembly. The Reporter, rising urban crime wave. Minat boss promises help to corporates as he reassures citizens. The Horizon says the drop of flour price by 6.25% is a slight relief for Cameroonian households. As reported by the Guardian Post at the Yaoundé rally, CRM President Professor Maurice Kamto weeps for his country characterized by scandals and general misery. The Median cites Tibor Nach, former U.S. Secretary of State for Africa, who calls on separatist fighters to forget about the past and focus on the future as far as Southern Cameroon's independence struggle is concerned.
Thank you, Immaculate Fogwe, for the press review. Journalists lamenting over the killing of Ndenso Anyende So, reporter with the Advocate newspaper, Bamenda bureau chief of that newspaper, killed by gunmen in the town of Bamenda, and journalists, particularly those who are working in the crisis-stricken regions, have been lamenting, decrying the insecurity in which they are working, asking for protection from government, and that the government authorities should put an end to this situation that's been prevailing for more than 6 years today. And the Ministry of Communication condemns the killing of journalists Anyende So and reassures the journalists in the northwest and southwest regions and the rest of the country of the government's permanent support. And of course, the government is saying this. This is not the first time, however, that government is talking about supporting, protecting journalists and so on. What do you think about what the Ministry of Communication said about the killing of Anyende So and the protection of journalists?
Yeah, I think that journalists and all other Cameroonians should be protected by government. And no Cameroonian should be under a situation whereby they will not feel comfortable to work or to carry on their daily activities. It is government's responsibility to secure individuals. But in the first place also, individuals should also know that they are the first to secure themselves. individuals, not only journalists. And we should also know the ongoing complex situation in Cameroon. And this has led to the loss of many lives, including a number of journalists. So I just wish to say that the government should take its responsibility to be able to secure the lives of Cameroonians. The lives of Cameroonians is precious, and it is government's responsibility to step up security measures in order to make sure that Cameroonians are under a protective situation as they go alongside their activities and jobs, whatsoever they are doing in life. It is the responsibility of the government. But I also wish to call upon all Cameroonians that you should also be very careful, because the stakes are very high and there's a lot of insecurity today in the whole nation. It's not just in the Northwest and Southwest. So Cameroonians should also be very careful with their lives and not fall into situations that may jeopardize their lives, because in as much as the government is supposed to take its responsibility, we are seeing a lot of lapses, which means that Cameroonians themselves should watch out as they are carrying on their daily activities. But we condemn all forms of killing, condemn all forms of destruction of property, and we are saying that each and every Cameroonian has the right to live, in that each and every Cameroonian has the right to own property, and nobody has the right to destroy the life of another person. Nobody has the right to destroy property that belongs to another person. So Cameroonians' rights should be respected at all levels, and whatsoever Cameroonians are doing should be protected by government. It is very clear. Other governments are protecting their citizens and their properties, and I think it should be the responsibility of the government to also protect Cameroonians and their properties.
At this time, when there seems to be some signals of peace or some kind of uneasy calm in the two English-speaking regions of the country, a journalist is killed at Church Street in the town of Bamenda. What do you read within the lines of this incident?
Yes, I wish to say it again, and I wish to repeat that the situation that the Northwest and Southwest are facing is still very complex and has not yet been resolved. So in as much as journalists are carrying on their activities, they should understand, because they are journalists, they have been trained, they are professionals, they should understand the fact that there are very risky areas as far as Cameroon is concerned, because of the ongoing conflict and war. And when you are carrying on your activity, your professional activities, especially in very risky zones, very risky areas, you should be careful and make sure that you don't put your life at the mercy of the men of the underworld.
The journalist we are talking about was not even on duty, and they saw was doing something else that he was doing more often to make ends meet, to earn a living, and he was shot down, and some of the people who killed him said it was an issue of mistaken identity and things like that. But the question is, when this is happening at this point, when there are some signals of some kind of an uneasy calm, but a journalist is killed in the heart of Bamenda, not in Kwakwa, not in Jakiri, not in Ngi, and so on, but in the central town of Bamenda.
Yes, I think the whole of the Northwest and Southwest is still under serious conflict, problem, and war. I say all the two regions, Northwest and Southwest, there is no town that you say that relatively calmness. Relatively calmness, that's where you use the word relatively calmness, is not true calmness, because the reality is under. The reality is not what you see. The reality is what you don't see. That's why I'm saying that no, whether you are carrying on your professional activities or not, all of us understand that the Northwest and Southwest are undergoing a serious crisis, a serious conflict, war. A lot of lives have been lost in places. People have been shot, people have been killed, people have been destroyed Even when they were not involved in anything, people have been destroyed even right in their homes. So what we are trying to say is that the government should take her responsibility to protect the lives of civilians, to protect the lives of Cameroonians. Let us be very blunt here. Cameroonians have been undergoing a lot of confrontations, especially with the forces of law and order, the military and so on. A lot of people have lost their lives. And that's why we are saying that no matter where you find yourself in the Northwest and Southwest today, you should not lose sight to the fact that it is not yet a safe zone. The Northwest and Southwest, they are not yet safe zone because of what is going on. So it is not something to think that if you are not carrying a professional, whatever, anything can happen at any time, as we have been seeing it happening. So we are in a situation whereby government should take her responsibility and step up security measures in the Northwest and Southwest and in the entire Republic of Cameroon. Cameroonians' lives should be valued, should be taken so important. People have been losing their lives even when they are not in duty whatsoever, which means that there is insecurity. Right. And it is government responsibility to step up security all over the nation, and especially in the Northwest and Southwest.
With regards to these happenings, many civil society leaders like you, right defenders, and so on, think that the authorities have failed in their duties, not only in Cameroon, but in other African countries. The leaders at different levels have failed in their responsibilities, and we're going to talk about how to raise a generation of productive leaders and who provide sustainable solutions to the socio-political, economic, and even security challenges that we're facing today. We're going to do that after interviews of the week. We're bringing to you some interviews right now.
My name is Honorable Naya Lekunze Selim. I'm a regional councillor, the Southwest Regional Council. I'm so happy that we have been able to organize this type of conference to see if we can have a change in our region. You know, we have been crying for peace. And if we say we want development and there is no peace, development will not have success to develop. So my desire is that after this conference, peace will reign in our region, in my subdivision, Wabane, in my division, Lebialam division, so that we can start developing us back. We are 50 years backwards instead of 50 years forward, but we are backward now because of this crisis that have been going on. I want to plead for my sons and daughters that they should give peace a chance so that we can develop our region, we can develop our villages, our children can go back to school. I have always been crying when I see children not going to school. So I want that peace should reign in our division, in our subdivision, in our region.
The lessons that we are going to draw from this gathering here will certainly change the face of the Southwest region. A change in mentality, change in the approach in which we look at things, change in the way we address our challenges. That change has to be very, very acceptable, one in which it should also provide leadership for this region. One of the teething problems we have in this region is that we don't have leadership. Leadership that warrants that our ministers should be seen to move together. Elected officials should be seen to move together. But it is absent in the Southwest region. Every minister appointed by government for the Southwest region thinks that is done for him and his family, and charts his way. They need to collaborate. They need to work together. They need to accompany the Prime Minister in ensuring that the policies and options, vision of the head of state are all put together and implemented for the good of our people.
Interviews of the week. Now we want to talk about how to raise a generation of productive leaders, providing sustainable solutions to the many socio-economic, political, and even security challenges that citizens are facing in Cameroon and other African nations. What's your assessment, first of all, of the leaders who are in power today in Cameroon and other African countries?
I will say that we don't have leaders. We have position holders and dictators in Africa who are selfish and work with colonial masters to have frustrated their continent for the past 60 years. We don't have leaders. A leader is somebody that puts the people first and put developmental issues first and put institutional power and put in place a favorable environment for the citizens to thrive and put in place structures that build reasonable and valuable individuals. But we have dictators, we have position holders who fight for elections and who fight to be in power. Those are not leaders. That's not the characteristic of a leader. A leader is that person who serves. A leader is that person who creates, who take the people's interest first. And a leader may sleep hungry, whereas the people have eaten. That is the spirit of leadership. It's the spirit to serve. We don't have servants leadership in Africa. We have dictators. We have people who are selfish. We have people who work for themselves. We have people who have taken it all, and their countries are suffering. Whereas the resources are there. The resources have been there. So those are not leaders. They are called position holders. They are not leaders. That will be very clear. A leader is not somebody who looks himself first, as we have seen the situation of African dictators, African position holders, some presidents, some ministers for the past 60 years. We have not had leadership in Africa. Those who wanted to be leaders, a good number of them were killed. And since then, we've not seen leaders in Africa. We have seen position holders and people who like fame and honor for themselves, and their people are dying and wallowing. What can explain the fact that after 60 years of independence, African nations don't have water, don't have electricity, don't have roads that make sense, don't have airports that make sense, don't have international standard structures and institutions that produce valuable human beings that can bring future change in Africa? No. We have a continent that have been taken hostage by dictators and by people who are position holders, only looking and fighting for elections. No, that is not what Africa needed.
Now, some Pan-Africanists think that talking about African leaders as dictators is accepting the qualification from the West, is accepting a name given to our leaders by the white man, so to speak.
Yeah, dictators are not only found in Africa. We are just taking the case of Africa as one of the case study. Example, you have dictators elsewhere out of Africa. So we are just looking at the characteristics of these individuals who are holding positions of top responsibility. We are looking at the position. We are not saying that they are only found in Africa. They are found elsewhere. So what we are saying is that the characteristics of dictatorship, the characteristics of position holders, is what has prevailed in Africa. It has also prevailed elsewhere. But we are trying to look at the case of Africa, which is a case that concerns us the most. But we are not saying that it is limited only to African countries.
That name, dictator, or that attribute, dictator, and of course that word dictatorship, is part of what has brought Libya to where it is today, to the catastrophic situation in which it is today. Whereas its former leader, Muammar Gaddafi, who was qualified as a dictator, particularly by the West, was actually giving the people some reasonable standards of living, reasonable conditions of living. People could have electricity, pipe on water free of charge. They could have access to medical services, healthcare free, and all of that have been destroyed. All of that have been destroyed because of the issue of him being qualified as a dictator, and then the people brought up to rise against him and his government and things like that.
No, Gaddafi was not destroyed because of dictatorship. In as much as we are saying that African position holders are dictators, you can be a positive dictator. It means that in as much as you are dictating, but you are giving the people and you are doing what the people want. So you have negative dictators and positive dictators. The problem with Africa is that we have had negative dictators. That is the point. Gaddafi was a positive dictator.
One of those trying to unite Africa, which became a threat to the West.
His death is not as a result of the fact that he was a dictator. His death is as a result of Western and US jealousy of what Gaddafi was about to do and the vision that he had. That's what led to his death. It is not because he was a dictator. It is Western jealousy and Western influence and interference in the issues of Africa.
Right, and yes. That's because he was working with others to unite Africa, to bring about this issue of the United States of Africa, which is the vision of former Ghanaian President Kwame Nkrumah.
Yes.
But what was presented to the people is dictatorship.
No,
he's a dictator.
People, we are living in an information age. People don't work again by what is presented to them. People read, people get facts, people do research. So, and this is one of the things that the African leadership needs to understand. We are no longer living in an archaic age. We are living in the age of information and communication technologies. We are living in an age of information. People have information from different media outlets. The social media has come. People are highly informed. So you cannot just come and throw things on people again. People do their research. People get information from other sources to buttress their points. And that is why dictatorship can no longer thrive in Africa. It's going to die in a short while from now, because we are dealing with an intellectual generation. People who are highly informed, people who have studied, people who have done a lot of research. So the days where you come and throw a trash on people and think that they will accept it has passed. And that is why Africa has to change. Africa must change for a positive future. This is very important.
And for that to happen, there is the imperative need to have productive leaders. Tell us, first of all, who is a productive leader?
Yeah, a productive leader is someone that brings solution to existing problems. That's a productive leader. You bring solutions to existing problems in your community, in your nation, in your continent. It's a solution provider. Is a result-oriented leader. These are the type of leaders we are talking about. Leaders who bring solutions, leaders that are result-oriented, leaders that look at problems and bring solutions to those problems. We have a lot of problems in Africa, but we don't have solution nor result-oriented leadership. That is why Africa is dying.
So what must we do at this point to have productive leaders in Cameroon, in Africa, in the rest of the continent?
Yes, it's very simple. I don't want to go into the issue. We have come up with a platform to raise solution and result-oriented leaders. Yes. What am I saying? Let me just give a little bit of how solution-oriented leaders are produced. You know, one of the things which we have in Africa is that most personalities, most youth, and most people have not studied leadership. Have not studied leadership. They have been placed in position by appointments, by relationship, and so on. They have not taken time to study leadership and to understand the in-depth meaning of leadership and how leadership transforms a community and how leadership brings solution and how leadership brings results. That is the first problem. So the starting point is for the population of Africa to be trained on leadership and solution and result-oriented leadership. You need this knowledge, because if you don't have knowledge, you cannot bring solution, you cannot be result-oriented. That is why I wish to quote one example of a solution-oriented leader in the world today. One of the solution-oriented leaders in the world today is Vladimir Putin.
Vladimir Putin
is a solution-oriented leader because he looked at the problem.
Of Russia.
Yes, the president of Russia. I will explain why. Because he looked at the problem of Russia so many years back and decided to go for solution. That is why Russia is very strong today, because they have provided solutions to their own problem and their citizens are living well according to the solutions that they have brought in. And it has taken them so many years to come up with solutions, but it's just that they have so many enemies worldwide, especially the West and the US. They have enemies who are fighting against their progress, but they have brought in solutions to their problems. If you study Russia,
but
you realize that they have moved from one state to a solution state. That's why they feed the whole of Europe. Russia is the one that supplies gas and other energy resources to most of the European countries. It is a solution-oriented leadership that could do that.
And wheat to many African countries.
Yes, they supply wheat and other grains to most parts of the world, including Africa. That's what we call solution. That is what we call solution. So no matter the fact that people hate you and you are providing solution and results, that does not cover the fact that you are a solution-oriented leader.
That's that example could be considered paradoxical, because when we look at what is happening today in Ukraine, the destruction going on in Ukraine
the issue of Ukraine, as a journalist, you should know the problem of Ukraine. It is infringement of the West and the United States going against agreed policies. That is why Russia has retaliated. Russia has retaliated not because they wanted to attack Ukraine. No, it's because of external influence.
Yes, we know that, but
yes, it's because of external influence that Russia has attacked Ukraine. Nevertheless, we are not supporting the attack of another nation. We are not supporting it. But when you check the cause, you realize that Russia had no other option than to attack Ukraine and free herself from the interference of the US and Western nations coming to her boundaries.
Right, but we know all of that. But when you look at the destruction going on now, human lives, properties going down the drain, it looks like Putin may not be the best example. But when we start looking at the economic production, the economic capacity of the country, supplying gas to the whole of Europe, supplying wheat to the African countries and many other parts of the world, we may understand your example in that perspective. Now, looking at the fact that there is need for education in order to raise a generation of productive leaders, particularly in African nations, productive leaders. What should be done with the present educational system? Because we have leaders that are trained in Cameroon. Leaders are trained, some of them administrative authorities are trained in the ENAM, the National Advanced School of Magistracy and Administration and so on. And other institutions are there. We have even NASLA, the local administrators training school in Boya. We have other institutions. What should be done with the present educational system?
Yes, the first thing which we need to make very clear is that there is no institution in Africa, in Cameroon, producing leaders. I want to make that point clear. They produce administrators, they don't produce leaders. And I wish to say that the educational system of Africa as a whole is a mess. It cannot lead to productive leaders nor productive human beings. It has led to consumption-oriented human beings who wish to consume, not production or oriented. So what needs to be done? I'm not even talking about the educational system, because that one is a political issue that might never come to pass in the next 200 years. So let's not go to where things will not work. Go to where things are going to work. How are things going to work? Things are going to work by using digital platforms. Let me make the point very clear. Using digital platforms, and that is what we are using today. We are using digital platforms to train and raise leaders. We are not interested in the educational system whatsoever, because that one is a political issue that have been taken to be like that. So you don't go the way of politicians, because they will block you from doing the right thing. Go the way of social media. Go the way of information and communication technologies, and let people be informed. Give people that which they need, so that they should become productive, using social media, using communication outlets, using
for example,
available.
what you're talking about, the African School of Greatness or Excellence, something like that.
Yes, the African School of Greatness, which we just created, is a school, is an online platform that is looking to train over 500 million Africans all over the world. It's a digital platform. It's online. So you are trained digitally. You are not trained in a school where you have to go to 4 walls of the into the 4 walls of the classroom. No. So the African School of Greatness is one of the solutions to the African problem that is going to solve three key issues: taking away poverty from Africa, taking away unemployment from Africa, and taking away frustration from Africans by raising young billionaires.
Reducing or taking away?
Taking away. I'm not talking about reducing, because you reduce if you still have an interest, but you show people how to take it away completely. If they want to reduce it, that one is their choice. But show them the solution. Show them the formula of taking it away.
Is it feasible to manage to imagine a world without all those things?
I'm talking about Africa. I'm not talking about the world.
I mean, to imagine a society.
Eradicate poverty from Africa. It's possible to eradicate unemployment from Africa. Let me tell you that there are more than 1 trillion jobs online for digital experts and engineers, software engineers. I said there's more than 1 trillion jobs. That which means that the whole world can be employed by the internet today. There are jobs that don't have individuals that are qualified. So we are going to show these great men that are going to be raised how you can be trained and maximize this, so that you don't look at these physical jobs again, which you have to go and drop application. No, you work right at the comfort of your bedroom, and you make money every month. This is what we are talking about, production. And when this is done, you are sure that Cameroonians, Africans are going to become solution oriented, because they will bring solution to their continent. Politicians have failed. Politicians can no longer help the African situation, the African problem. Let young men and women sit up, use social media, use communication outlets, use the internet, and be trained on highly skilled facets, on highly skilled ventures that will generate billions for Africa. Billions of dollars for Africa, and this is going to change the face of Africa. Let's not continue to make noise, because politicians have failed the African space, and you cannot continue to rely on them and talk about changing this and changing that. No, they will not help, because their interest is staying in power. Full stop. They don't have any other interest. It's staying in power and doing everything to remain in power.
Now, with this kind of training which you're talking about, can't we have a change, a complete change at the level of those occupying leadership positions, those in power, through this training? Can't there be a complete change, so that those who are trained, those who are brought up as productive leaders, can be operational out of the internet?
We are training everybody, including presidents or heads of states, ministers, governors, and top leaders who also wish to be trained, because you can also be trained in the African School of Greatness, and you ameliorate your leadership, you ameliorate your administration. This training is open to everybody. Let me make that point clear. Because it is not like they are left out. No, they can be trained and they change. They have the opportunity also to be trained. So the training is for everybody, including African heads of states and leaders and position holders. I mean, use that word. So that they can be transformed to become leaders. Because now they are position holders and they need to be transformed to become leaders so that they change the face of Africa. But nevertheless, while they are also coming in, we are training the next set, the next generation of African leaders. That is the type that we are training. Great entrepreneurs, great professionals, great billionaires that will do giant investment in Africa. We are tired of Africa taking loans. We are working on a situation whereby Africa will be taking loans in Africa and developing Africa structures. And let me say that we have created what we call the African Youth Development Fund. The African Youth Development Fund, where all these resource persons will still pool resources together to develop the African youth in many areas. This does not exist in Africa. It's something new. It's an innovation that is revolutionary. Let us make this point clear. Because we have a burden to transform Africa.
Now, how accessible is this training? Is it open to everybody, from the top to the grassroots, from the grassroots to the top? The top, we can consider that they have the means, they have the finances to be able to meet up with the requirements.
Yes.
But those are the grassroots. Is it open to?
The training is open to everybody. It's digital. You register simple. Actually, the training is supposed to have costed $1 million francs per person. But the tuition have been cancelled. You only register with 10,000 francs. Mr. John, that means that a president of the republic will only register with 10,000 francs and you are trained. So the tuition, we agreed to take off the tuition so that the tuition should not be a hindrance.
Who are those piloting the training?
There are partners. We have a lot of partners in Africa.
I mean the professionals doing the training, carrying on.
That's what I said. We have many professionals. There are many out of the country and in the country. We have done a few selections have been demonstrated, but there are many others in the background who will be doing this training for Africans. That's what I'm saying, that the solution has come. And this is the solution. There is no restriction. No Cameroonian or no person can say that you cannot afford 10,000 francs to register for a training that is worth more than 1 million francs and have been cancelled. Who can say that? Who can say this? Which means that even all the journalists, all the other people should get enrolled in the African School of Greatness and be trained. And the training takes just 3 months. We'll be training people for the next 3 months, even in the next 20 years. Because there's a target of 500 million Africans to be trained, those at home and abroad.
3 months to train
only 3 months.
A productive leader.
You'll be trained for 3 months, then push into what we call the pool of mentorship. Then now, they continue to drill you until you are ready for that which you have chosen as your specificity or that which you want to become great in. But you have the general knowledge or the general information for 3 months. Then you are now pushed into what we call the mentorship pool. That is when now you will drill more into the in-depth of that which you want.
Of the area.
Yes. But the general training is just 3 months for everybody. Then movement to the mentorship platform. This is the solution we are talking about. This is the solution. I'm going to bring a solution in the African system, in the African space.
Right. Lucas Musoke Lyonga, civil society leader, peace advocate, community empowerment and transformation promoter, modern nation builder. Thank you for your time.
I'm very happy once more to have been here, and the solution has finally come.
That's it for today's edition of The Inside. Goodbye.